forget.
Well, since you started recording, let me start with the meeting piece. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access channel and will be uploaded in the Lunenburg Access YouTube. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of this discussion. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be also brought up for discussion to the extent of the open meeting. With that, let me start with a roll call. Karen Menard,
Here.
Pat,
Here.
Dave,
Here.
Chris Sullivan.
Here.
Right. So that's started. Catherine, the first part of the meeting would be just you kind of going over the process with the commissioner, so maybe we can get that started, even if Nick's not
absolutely.
here. Okay, the
Yeah.
floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's all right. So let's see here. Oops. There we go. Full screen mode. So thank you all for having us here tonight. We had a productive meeting last week on site at Marshall Park with some members of the commission and also Chris Ruth from the town, as well as Nick Betts from Meridian Associates. And that was sort of the kickoff to the project in terms of the schematic design process. So I thought I would give you an overview of the schedule of the schematic design process and talk a little bit about what will be included in each part of this process as we move forward. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Please feel free to interrupt at any time. So as I said, we received the survey last week and were able to meet with the town and the design team for a plan check on site. And that's where we walk around the entire site, verify all above grade elements that we need are in the survey, and identify any additional survey information we have so that we are working with accurate information to inform the future development of schematic design drawings and permitting and construction documents. So here we are tonight at the community meeting, April 19th. And we are beginning the schematic design process. Now, what that is it's a process that takes the concept design that we had developed with community input and with the commission input, and it begins to make this more real by using an accurate field survey and newly delineated wetlands so that we are moving closer to a more accurate cost estimate and towards the ability to apply for funding sources and begin to gain momentum for Marshall Park. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will be working as a design team to develop, begin developing the schematic set. And what this is taking the dimensions, the known dimensions, and beginning to get them into the design and begin the grading process so that we're understanding exactly how the topography is shifting and making minor adjustments as we go, as well as identifying any additional adjustments that may be a little more significant, but that could not have been foreseen because we were not working with accurate survey information. When we identify these areas where we might need to make adjustments, we will flag them for discussion with the town at the 50% meeting so that we can then get your input. You can decide which direction you would prefer to go, and then we will adjust the course based on your responses to any alternatives and adjustments in the design. Once we've had a meeting with you to review the 50% set. We'll get your feedback, and then we will again begin refining and further developing the schematic set. So what these drawings will include is a site demo plan that shows all elements that are to be removed. It will have a utilities plan, a layout and materials plan, which shows where all of the elements are located and provides dimensions so that we are getting a very real sense of what this can be. We will have a grading plan, which shows the grading and elevations. We'll also have a planting plan that shows general types of plants. So canopy trees here, smaller flowering trees here. We're not quite getting into the level of detail of identifying exactly which tree goes where, but we're giving you an idea of what we're looking for. And that will also be information that's sufficient for the cost estimator to work with in refining a cost estimate moving forward. So we kind of go through this review and revise process so that we make sure that the direction that we're headed is the direction that the town would like to go. We're anticipating that mid-June, we'll be ready to present 100% schematic set to the town. And at that point, in addition to the drawings, we'll also have an outline of the specifications, which will again be useful to the cost estimator and also sort of be a step towards permitting and construction document development. So that's the general plan for right now. Emily, is there anything in there that you might add that would be helpful?
I think you covered it all, Catherine.
All right, great. So, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. Yeah.
Catherine, Dave Passios,
Hi, Dave.
from the commissioners. Hi. So do I understand this correctly? The process that we're embarking on right now will not give us biddable documents. There's going to be another phase after that before we have the actual documents that could be bid.
That's correct, Dave. So what we're doing in the schematic process is we're getting it to a real point where it can be permitted. And permitting is you want to balance your permitting just right so that you're far along enough that you can get your permits, but you're not so far along that if you need to adjust things, you're not having to redo an inordinate amount of detailing. And in construction documents, that's really where you're getting into the detailing, where you're saying, you know, we want a 1-inch wearing course on a 3/4 crushed base, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not getting there yet before permit, but we're preparing for it. This is sort of the groundwork for that.
Okay, is the schematic design though going to give us updated numbers? You know, you gave us
Yes,
some
it is.
estimated numbers in the previous. Okay.
Yes, so that's,
I mean, that
the other-
seems to me to be the most important thing at this point, because our goal is to, you know, have some hard and fast numbers or as close as possible so we can start the grant process.
yes,
Without numbers, we're dead in the water.
yeah,
Actually, Dave, let me just compliment. The biggest part of this, that what this is going to give us, that will be the biggest piece that we're missing in order to apply for grants, is actually the first set of drawings. The numbers that we have, they were created by a certified estimator, and it is based on, you know, if we stay within the scope of this project, you know, at the time Catherine did give us the range of changes that, you know, based on inflation, and we have that now broken up by phases and different areas. So the biggest thing that we're going to get from this is really going to be the first set of drawings. And that's what we need to apply for a grant.
Okay.
and if I could just actually add one more thing. In developing these drawings, we're able to point to certain things that will qualify the town to apply for additional grants. For example, shade structures, some spigots to provide, you know, water for dogs, all of these sort of different little things, a certain amount of parking spaces. And so when we can point to all of these things, then that opens the doors for additional funding. And having that specificity can hopefully result in more money for you.
And Catherine, thank you, Catherine. That was a good add-on. You know, of all the grants we have researched, Dave, we have passed on that information to her, including the client resilience, park design, which she was aware of it, the requirements for the park grant, which is 100 parking spaces. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish. Any other questions from anyone from the commission?
Is
I
it,
don't have any.
is this the time when we would like look at different, I don't know, surveys? So one of the comments in the survey that I think I mentioned at a prior meeting that's intriguing, and I don't, you know, from a cost standpoint, I'm not sure if it's feasible or not, but the turf surface, like that, I think that someone mentioned that park in Malden that has a turf surface, which would add a multi-purpose field for us that we could use in off seasons, you know, the outfields of softball and baseball fields, the large fields. Is this that time when we can look at price options for that as well, just out of curiosity, and can, you know, look at that as well? Or is that another phase?
I think that we could start to look at that, not at this phase itself, but the cost estimate that is developed from this phase can provide some alternates. So one alternate is to have, you know, your typical turf field, and then another could be more of a multi-purpose turf field, maybe with structural soils, et cetera, that would allow it to be used in the off season for other uses. So yes, that's definitely something that we can flag and ask the cost estimator to incorporate when she is updating her cost estimate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I think we do have a few members of the public here. Actually, Angela, who's our new rec director, and Chris Ruth. Do you guys have any questions, comments? Oh, we can't hear you.
I don't have any questions as of right now.
Okay, Chris Ruth?
I don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay, so I'm gonna open to the public. I see we have a lot of people, but I think it seems that we just have Joe Ruth. Do you have any questions, comments, thoughts of what you've seen so far?
Kind of, sort of, but it's a little more nitty gritty than, I just want to see where the meeting went before I chimed in. I had, a few months back, I had sent a list of things to consider to Chris Sullivan. And I don't even have a copy of it here in front of me, but it was
I
just
have it.
things. Oh, dear, okay.
Yeah, I can pull it.
It was just things to consider, and not having a copy in front of me, I'm just thinking about some odds and ends. For instance, based on where home plate for the 90-foot diamond is on the softball field, I'd recommend, for instance, you had a big net. And I know netting is a hot topic these days, but any foul ball from the softball field could land on a baseball field, disrupting play or conking somebody in the head, and vice versa. Because they seem to be pretty close here. And I've seen it done at other places that are similarly designed. And it's just, you know, telephone poles with a straight up net that you can kind of roll up in the winter to protect it from, you know, snow and ice and whatnot. And then let it down again in the spring.
Mhm.
Sore subject, Jill.
Yeah, do you want to comment on that, Catherine?
It's certainly something that we can consider. I think that having additional safety features is never not something to consider. So it's certainly something we consider and take a look at where exactly they'd go and have that added into the cost estimate, if that's a direction that the commission would like to go.
Okay, perfect. That's good.
On-
Joe, I'm reading your notes that I have. They do seem to be a little more detailed, but I have that email. And what I'll do is I'll forward it to Catherine and she
Okay,
will have it. And that way she can incorporate it based on when the right time for that detail or that information is. I think that'll
Yeah.
probably be the most effective way to deal with that.
and you could give Catherine my cell phone number if she's got any questions like, what's this maniac talking about, you know?
What this baseball passionate dude's talking about? Yeah, I can do that. It's not many. It's someone who loves baseball. Yeah, I'll definitely do that, Joe.
Okay,
Dave,
Joe,
did you
the-
have something?
Yeah, it was just a quick question for Catherine, because I missed it on the survey plans. Do you see on those plans, or have you seen on those plans of you, as you've reviewed it, the existing utility connections? I know the electric is very obvious, that comes in from Massachusetts Avenue, but the water supply comes from Chestnut Street. And I don't remember that being called out on the survey, but I could be wrong. Or existing conditions.
So Dave, I can chime in on that a little bit. The existing water supply is unlikely to be reused aside from where it comes off of Chestnut Street. Right now, the water that feeds Powell Field wraps all the way around the outside of the baseball field where the old bathrooms were, and then goes underground to home plate, and then goes underground from there to the snack shack at Powell Field. So it's kind of a mess right now where the water is running out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if we turn the 90-foot diamond around, then it makes much more sense to come in the other way. Okay, thank you. I was just wondering if it was called out on the survey, as you and I have discussed. The scope of work in that survey was not totally followed as far as I'm concerned.
I think part of it is there's only a few people with knowledge of where the stuff actually is. I was actually out there earlier today with my facilities guys, and you know, there's a valve under the dead tree 200 feet from this building type of thing. So it's, for any surveyor to actually catch that might be pretty impressive.
Well, we found one with a backhoe.
You usually do.
Okay, Catherine, so we have, I see we have only one member of the public here who's not part of the one team. Ms. Renee Emke, do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to share with us?
No, not at this time. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Catherine, how many, we've been asking the town to give us feedback to the survey. And I think you had access beforehand. Did you get enough information there?
Yeah, there was actually, we were heartened to see that 50% of the respondents had seen Marshall Park's plan before and 50% hadn't, which is great because it means that it's being seen by more community members. We had the opportunity to read through some of the comments, which were helpful.
Okay.
Many of the comments sort of closely resembled comments that we have heard sort of throughout this process, with different community members wanting different things. The dog park and T-ball came up fairly frequently. That was one of the bigger takeaways, was dog park and T-ball. Some comments about whether they wanted basketball or whether people wanted pickleball. But it seems that a multi-sport court is something that folks are interested in. And that's something that I know we had talked about last week in terms of trying to kind of get that in there. And it may also be worth looking at tennis courts with pickleball striping so that more than one netted sport can play at once. So definitely some food for thought in there.
Okay. Well, that's good. Do you have do you have anything else that you need from us in terms of this meeting? I know when we saw you, I gave you the feedback that I had heard from the community. You know, I felt like we needed more storage space throughout the park for, different equipment.
Mhm.
What else do you need from us in this meeting?
So I think what would be helpful is just to confirm that previously we had discussed staging as, the first being the sort of core park and parking from Massachusetts Avenue. And then the 90-foot diamond and the softball field would be part of phase 2. And in our discussion last week, it seemed that doing the softball field as part of phase 1 might make more sense. So I just wanted to confirm that with you and see if there was any additional information or discussion around this.
Yeah, so the only thought on the softball field was where that comment came from was based on if we start building everything that was listed on phase 1, we wouldn't
Mhm.
have a softball field until we go into phase 2.
Right.
The other, so that's where I think softball field, needs to be addressed, because not just our youth league uses, but that's also the home of our high school team. The only constraint we would have about it, and I did mention to you when we met, which is the, how we'll be able to finance. And I know phase 1, as it was listed as 3.5, around 3.5 million. Our first, if the town were to fund the project in full, the first installment, the way we've seen it, is that we can get a bond of 2.2 million. So what we are hoping is over the next few months, we'll be able to have more money, get extra money from ARPA and grants. And that would hopefully allow us to build the phase 1 looking more like the way it's looking now. So that's that becomes the main constraint, but I think addressing the need of the softball field for our youth league and high school, it's important. We can't just leave them homeless until we go into phase 2. So yeah, but we're hoping that comes the beginning of May, we'll have a reply from the select board in terms of the ARPA funds. That would be money that, if we think of it as it's actually 2.6. And if we get over $1 million, it's 3.5. So it's looking good for us to have that phase 1 fully funded within the first year.
Great.
Yeah. Anyone else have any other comments regarding this?
Quick comment, Catherine, is there a way to quantify a savings if we combine all of phase 1 and 2 and do it all at the same time? There's got to be a substantial savings for not pulling equipment on and off the property.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. Can we get that quantified somewhat?
Yeah, we can take a look and try to quantify that for you. As we talked last week on site with Chris Ruth, and just about how mobilizing and then cleaning the site up and leaving, and then remobilizing and then cleaning it up again and leaving it's a lot of money. So we'll see what that looks like and provide that to you.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Catherine, I've got a comment as well, more related just to the schedule of when the 50% design is going to be done. I haven't run this by anyone else at the town or the town manager yet, but the town meeting is May 6th. So if there's any chance to have some sort of deliverable, then it may help our cause to, show people where we are and, how things are progressing along.
Okay.
We are not seeking, I think what Chris is mentioning is we're not seeking funding this town meeting. But what if we have something that we can present to a larger audience, I'm sure we can put ourselves in the agenda. I think that's what you were talking about, right, Chris?
Yeah, just something to get some more interest in the town and people excited about the project.
Right.
I don't know if we got anything in the warrant, because otherwise we're not open to a report at town meeting.
I'm not sure, Dave, to be honest. I saw
Okay,
that May 10th date and I figured, shaving
Right.
4 days off may not be the end of the world. to
Yeah,
get
no,
us-
I get what you're talking about, Chris, but I think our only alternative for town meeting at this point is to have a handout. I don't think we could do a presentation because we're not on the warrant.
Gotcha. All right, it was just a thought.
Any other comments or questions?
No, I think that's it. I think the only other thing, so you're all set you are all set with information that you need from us to get kicked off. Okay, Chris Sullivan, I'll suggest you to close the survey if you haven't yet. Just so in case if anyone submits any other reply, we want to make sure they know that that's not the best way for us to hear their thoughts. So maybe just closing the survey might be a good idea now that Catherine has that data.
Yeah, I can close. I think I can close the responses out. That's fine. We got 132 responses, and like Catherine said, close to half of those responses were new, people that were new to any of the process that we've been through so far, which is great. That's, another, 70 people, close to 70 people in town that hadn't seen anything about this before. So,
Yeah.
appreciate everyone's thoughtful comments that were added to the survey, and I think it's definitely helpful. But I can close that. I can close that down.
Okay. Yeah, and with this past few weeks, Chris, I don't know if you saw, but we had an ad on the Ledger. It was on Facebook, it was everywhere that we could have put it. So hopefully this past few weeks, we have got another bump in answers because it's it's important. So, okay, the next item on the agenda, and Catherine, I know it's sort of like your part is done, but we're going to talk about as a commission about the Marshall Park Cave, and maybe you can stick around and maybe give us your input on that.
Happy to.
So we went back to the surveyor and asked him to identify the Marshall Park Cave on the survey, and because we need to decide what we're going to do with that item before, as we start doing this project. And I do believe it is currently on the survey and the updated survey. And there is a little bit of history behind that. It's someplace called a cave. Dave, do you want to give us some of the history behind? Do you know? Oh, you're in mute, Dave.
There hasn't been a lot more than that article like you have in the file here for the meeting. There's been word of mouth comments also added. It was built during and I've got to go back and look because there were two time periods that major work was done on Marshall Park. The original construction was done in the early 1900s, and then there was more work done around 1920 something. And the track, I believe, was added after the original build of the park. And I'm not sure about the cave, whether that was the original build or if it was a secondary build. There is a picture that I'll be sharing on Facebook that shows an all-woman crew building stone wall seats and a fireplace on Chestnut Street. That rock structure, or that stone structure on Chestnut Street that, there you go, thank you. That is on Chestnut Street. There's 2 or 3 pictures in that series, and I've taken and blown that fireplace up a number of times when you can see the front 2 corners. And if you blow that up and take it with you over to Marshall Park, the stonework matches exactly. to that fireplace. So that is on the Chestnut Street side. That's not the cave side. The cave was supposedly added by the townspeople and built by the townspeople as a obviously very unique underground, call it a bunker, call it a cave, call it whatever you want. And supposedly there were Boy Scout meetings and initiations, and I don't know, the descriptions sound a little bit strange for probably for our era, but back then I guess it made sense. I do plan to attend the Historical Society meeting next month on the third Wednesday, and they have a ring binder in their building with a lot of information about Marshall Park and that cave. And we're going to have some further discussions about trying to get some more information and maybe reach out to the public, because I keep hearing comments from different public sources that, oh yeah, I remember that. And the latest one I heard was that supposedly there's pictures that include the cave in yearbooks from high school in the 60s. I have not verified that yet, but we're going to be starting to research that. So that's the best I've got at this point.
Okay. Chris, Ruth, you looked at it a little bit and you actually visited. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so we actually, when it came up for the survey, one of the firefighters in town I knew had been in it. So we went and, went down and looked inside, and it looks like over the years it's filled in a little, but at first glance, it appears to be still somewhat structurally sound. And, I did a little digging and found a article from June of 1937 talking about the unique underground picnic area that was part of Marshall Park. And it was part of the New Deal and the Works Progress Administration was when one of the renovations to Marshall Park was done. And that's when they're talking about this. And it sounds like it wasn't originally part of the budget or the plan, but the townspeople kind of volunteered their time to build the cave portion of it. So I first thought it seemed like if it's not a ton of money to save, it would be certainly worthwhile exploring to, and where it lies on the new schematic plan is kind of over where one of the trails goes by. So I think it's a good opportunity for at least exploring, if it's worth saving.
Okay. Chris Sullivan, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, you look historic. If there is historic relevance to it, I'm fine with it there. Obviously, we just, my concerns are the safety of it, the structural, nature of that, security and so forth, of course, to making sure that, we can have that. It's a spot that can be easily patrolled and visible, and safe for everybody. But again, it's, based on historical relevance to that, being there. I understand what Chris is saying. It is kind of, I think, off where those paths would be, the walking paths we'd like to add. If we find that it's not overly historically relevant, then and it's not a safe space, and obviously it doesn't lend itself to being a highly visible spot, I'm not opposed to filling that, but again, exploring the historical relevance of it a little bit is still, I think, important for the town and so forth. So my 2 cents.
Pat, you growing up in town, do you have any thoughts? Did you know about that cave?
I didn't know anything about it till you called me a few weeks ago. So no, I knew nothing about it. I'll just second what Chris just said. If there's no historic sentiment to it, I think it'll be more of a safety and security issue than anything else. But again, if it is some sort of historic part of the town, yeah, obviously we got to do what we can to keep it. So again, that's my 2 cents. So
Okay, no, that's good. How about you, Karen Menard?
I may have an unpopular opinion tonight. So I'm 95% on the side of probably not keeping it. I think that there is absolute historical relevance to it, but I think the location of it, it will never be in an area that's going to be easily seen. It worries me to have something like that there. I also, if it's going to cost a lot to keep it, I'm not sure that there would be enough value to it, unless it was going to be used for something. And again, I'm not sure. If my memory serves me correctly, originally it was like the cave measured like 16 by 16 or something like that, said it held 40 people. Are we planning on having meetings there? I just don't know if the expense to save it, where it hadn't been maintained over the last 50 plus years, will have enough value to it in the end. But while we're on that same topic of that cave, I don't have a great understanding of how far that cave goes, because I know Joe Ruth, block your ears, but your son was down in there last week. I don't know how far it goes because I wasn't brave enough to climb in the hole with Chris. So, I don't know how big of a space is there or how far under it goes. So, having equipment on there doing the, redoing the area, I don't know if that will have any effect on the structural or integrity of it either. So, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm kind
There's a
of.
porcupine living in there.
Yeah, I heard that, but Chris said that, Chris Ruth said that he didn't see it when he was down there. And I did have my camera at the ready, just in case he didn't come back out of that hole. And I was going to immediately text you to tell you your son was in the hole stuck, but he did come back out, so.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So my opinion is a little bit like it's more along the lines with Karen's. I love history. I live in an old house and all that, but I honestly, from what I saw, I didn't go all the way in, but I did peek inside. It has beautiful stonework, not something we see that's built anymore. But it is, the ceiling is built of concrete. And I know Catherine did look into the concrete built in the 30s. They have been, supposedly it's really good, but part of the structure has been compromised because it was crushed. So that is the problem of moisture going inside of the concrete. So I think whatever we do, it will take some, we will need to get a structural engineer there, do an analysis. It will be costly. And I think perhaps there are elements of it that we can maintain that will, I don't know where this cave overlaps with the new, where we're putting the new 90-foot diamond. I haven't seen them because it wasn't on the survey, but maybe there is a path that it goes by, and some of the stonework can be maintained, can be kept, and a plaque with historic information about it can be there. I think, with all the stone walls that we have, and they have been noted on the survey, and it is our goal to not destroy any of the stone walls. I think there is enough of the history of how the park was built that's still going to be there from the original work. Like Dave said, so we have that stone wall by where the dog park is. There are many stone walls around that was all built by hand. So I think there might be elements of it that we can keep, and it will be, that's where I think we'll likely land with this. What are your thoughts, Catherine, hearing us?
So I definitely, I see sort of the history of it and the presence of the cave in this sort of experience of people who've lived in Lunenburg and been young in Lunenburg. And I also see the potential liability with the cave. When you have young children at a park, there's things that can go real wrong with a a cave that's man-made and has concrete that has been impacted by water. The rebar, the reinforcement has started to kind of emerge out of the concrete, and the water moves along the rebar further into the concrete and kind of further degrades it structurally. So that's something to keep in mind, that that's what's holding up the ceiling of the cave. I think it's really important to get a structural engineer in there. And one thing that we've sort of talked about in the design team is, you know, we'll see where the design intersects with the cave, but also there's the potential to take the top off the cave and recover the stone that's in there that's been used and figure out a way to use it above ground in a way that refers to the cave and doesn't lose that sense of history. But it's also a structure that is safe for the community of Lunenburg and does not leave the town open to liability because of a subterranean cave. So we can certainly provide options to you, and then the town can decide what direction they'd like to go in terms of the preservation or changing the cave.
No, that's good.
I
All right, so
really like the idea.
And Anna, I have one thing to add as well.
go ahead.
And sorry if I cut you off there, Karen, but
That's okay.
a quick way without spending the money for a structural engineer to start. We could probably get somebody out there to drill a couple cores in the ceiling, and we could send those out to a concrete testing lab just to see, you know, if it comes back really low at the start, then there's kind of our answer of the concrete isn't going to be structurally sound, and we're going to be getting into quite a bit of money. And the testing for that would be fairly inexpensive to start before we, you know, get a structural engineer to climb into a hole and billing us at a couple $100 an hour.
Go ahead,
That-
Catherine. What are your thoughts on
Certainly,
that?
that's certainly an option. Yeah, test the concrete. Is that something in terms of going into the hole or the cave and, you know, taking the cores? Is that something the town would do, or like typically that's something I would ask the structural engineer to do?
So my thought, Catherine, is there's a section, you know, there's the main room and there's a little tunnel that comes off of it. And the section of the roof that is collapsed is off the end of one of the tunnels. So there's a piece of that roof sticking out that we know has rebar and we can see it. We
can
could just
take it
drill a quick core there, just to, at that point, we're gonna say, okay, the concrete broke at 800 PSI. This thing isn't safe to be anywhere near it. There's our answer. If it comes back stronger, at least that's okay, then we can decide if it's worth getting a structural engineer on board.
I think that makes good
Chris?
sense.
Chris, are you taking the lead on that?
Yeah, I can take care of that.
Okay, what's your timeline on that?
I will have to make some phone calls and, you know, getting the concrete tested is a fairly quick thing, but I need somebody with a core machine that can come out there and drill some holes in that so I'll have to talk to a couple of contractors and see what I can come up with.
Okay, do you think you can keep the team posted? But let's say by the end of next week, you have a timeline for us?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Is that good with you, Catherine? Would that slow
That
down your
sounds great.
process? Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
sounds good. Karen Menard, I'm sorry.
That's
What do
okay.
you
No,
have?
that's okay. I think Chris's idea is a good one. But I did want to sort of chime in with what both you and Catherine have said, that I think that being able to show what's in that cave without being in a cave, I think that's a spectacular idea. And I think it cuts back on a lot of the concerns. Because at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to matter. We can't move the cave, and we're not planning on doing anything to Powell Field. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be a well-seen area. It's going to be an area where it's going to be dark, and you know, security issues abound with that, especially if people are going to be out walking more. So, you know, I think it's great. Like even before you said it, I was looking at some of the older pictures in one of the articles, and to be able to see like some of that work that was done, I think that's like a fantastic idea. So just make it.
All right, sounds like we have a couple paths forward, and then we'll explore them on that. All right. Does anyone in the meeting have any other feedback, thoughts, comments to Catherine and the design team. I think we would be that was the last thing that I think it relates to them on our long 19-item agenda. So,
Yeah, hearing the other thoughts on how to reuse that space, just to kind of backtrack on kind of what I said a little bit, just again, from a safety and visibility standpoint, thinking about it more, like making that into like, if there's a way to create that into like a seating area or something like that, and it's exposed and you remove the cover and something like that, it's along the trail, like that's definitely something I'd get behind, where the structure of the cave is still there, but it's open space and it's certainly safer and doesn't lead to being a cavernous Dead Poet Society room within Marshall. Certainly something I would support. Keep some of the historical nature of it there, and goes from there. So yeah.
okay. Dave, do you have anything else?
Well, just some quick comments. I haven't had any comments in this whole narrative here. So you know my position on it. As far as I'm concerned, we do whatever we can to preserve that. It has, as far as I'm concerned, huge historical significance, just from the fact that the townspeople chose to add that to the park and paid for it and used their own labor to build it. There's the historical piece to begin with. And I'm sure there's more history to be found. I don't disagree with you guys about liability. The cave's been there for over a century. And I've never heard, and I don't think you can find anybody that can tell you that there's been an incident involving that cave, other than kids digging it up every few years after the DPW caved in another section of it with a backhoe. The open space type of idea, assuming the concrete's not viable, sounds like a good alternative, and something I have not mentioned to too many people yet, but after I leave this commission, I'm going to be working with a number of organizations to create a history heritage trail of Lunenburg. And my intent is that that's one of the locations that will be highlighted on that tour. And each location will have can't think of what it is right now, but you could scan it and with your smartphone, and the history of each of those locations will pop up. This has been done in many other towns, and it highlights historical locations all over town. The other, just what Catherine mentioned about taking the stone, if we go to as far as eliminating the room completely, that stone wall that starts the basketball court is the wall that ties into that area. And that wall was continuous all the way to Powell Field originally. And there's a big mound of dirt in there. Chris Ruth understands what I'm talking about, that over the years, stuff has been dumped in there and to bury the access tunnel to the cave. So at the very least, I propose that if we eliminate the room, then we use the stone to rebuild and reconnect the two sections of wall that have been separated by the destruction of the lead-in tunnel to the room and the room itself. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So if we have no other comments, I want to thank Catherine and Nick and Emily. And where is she? Oh, did she leave? Oh, there you are, Allison and Allison, for joining us here. And we look forward to the next meeting. And if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you run into any issues, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll keep you posted with any new developments.
Great. Thank you so much, Anna. We appreciate your time and everyone's time.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
And
All right.
yeah, Nick jumped off a couple minutes ago. He went to jump onto the Conservation Commission meeting. He wanted to tune into the skate park stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Anna, before we go any further, can we have a formal introduction of our new recreation director so everybody knows who she is?
Yes. So how about I let Angela do that? Angela, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Angela. I'm the new recreation director. I do have a little bit of a background in programming, sports, things like that. So me and Anna are building some programs right now this summer that are more geared towards learning. So I'm excited to do something new that I haven't done before. But I'm hoping we're going to have a great summer. We got some programs coming, so I think it'll be great.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to meet anyone outside to me and Chris from the
I
commission?
think almost everybody.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, welcome to the team. You know, you definitely started and you went kind of hit the ground running, and we've seen some progress already. So thank you, and hopefully you were here on to even greater things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone wants to make any comments or say hi to Angela if you haven't met her in person yet?
I'm excited to have her on board, and I met with her 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I don't know.
It's flying by.
So fast, and it was nice to, talk with her and see sort of what some of her plans are, and I think that we've got some good motion going in the right direction, so I'm excited to see what she brings to the table.
This will be great.
I'm excited that she's in the Ritter building rather than way out there on Route 13 at the DPW building. Accessibility for the public is going to be fantastic once they get to know who you are and where you're located.
Yeah.
And the people in that building, you're going to have to interact with anyway. So we talked about that a little bit when I was
Yeah,
here.
everyone's been super helpful and nice, so it's been great.
Great. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
You?
No, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next item of the agenda is facilities director update. Chris Ruth did update the Parks Commission project, and he sent me a copy, and I dropped it in our meeting folder. Because our agenda is very long, he listed all the updates there, and if you guys want to take a look and maybe touch base with him, or if you have specific questions about any one item, but I do appreciate, Chris, you updating that, because it kind of creates a log where we are with things. And also it helps us understand the timeline that it takes to get different things done. But Chris, do you want to get started with your update?
Yeah, I mean, in the interest of time, I would say, there hasn't been a whole lot of updates. The landscapers have been around town and have started all the cleanups. So between their cleanups and the cleanups that the townsfolk have done, the facilities are starting to look quite a bit nicer. Powell Field has been seeded. All the sprinklers have been turned on. The net at Marshall is the repair is ongoing, although we had a bit of a snag this week because we forgot about school vacation and some of the games starting earlier. So that may drag into next week a little more. The top half of the snack shack at McNally Field has been removed. We had some minor repairs to the building over there, and the sign has been hung back up. I think those are kind of the big highlights there, and unless anyone has any questions.
I actually have a quick question, 2 quick questions, Chris. So is the snack shack at McNally now usable?
Yeah, the structurally inside of the lower half there were no issues. There is currently a leak in there for the irrigation system, but the guys are working on getting that sorted out.
Okay, so will you either give Anna a heads up or Angela a heads up or somebody, just so that when it is usable, because it's been closed to the Little League for many years now, and if they're going to be able to use it again, even for concessions, it'd be great for them to know that. for their planning purposes. And I had another question and I can't off the top of my head remember what it was. Oh goodness, I can't. Oh, I did now. I remember what it is. Can you, in part of the cleanup with the landscaper, I know that they have the town beach on there. And can you, I don't know how far off it can be pushed because I think there's dates in the contract, but I'm wondering if we can try to either talk to them or push it off or somehow closer to beach opening so that they're not in there like in the next couple of weeks cleaning up the beach, only to have it be a mess again come beach opening.
So they already did do a cleanup there, but they still owe me pricing on bringing in the sand and cleaning that up.
Okay.
And I think you're right. We should probably wait till a little closer to opening the, obviously the sand erodes every year. So we want to have that installed as close as we can to the opening.
And there's a, when you're looking at the beach, actually, when you're coming out of the beach house onto the sand on the left-hand side, there's actually a good sized chunk of exposed concrete there. Last year, I think we threw up some cones. But when they come in, maybe they can look at it and see if there's a better solution to cover that area so it's not a hazard.
I'll swing by tomorrow if I have time or Friday and take a look. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but it's. So if you're looking.
I'll send you, I think I have a picture, Chris. I can send it to you when after the meeting's over. And it's possible it was fixed last year and I just forgot. So.
It very well could be, but if you have a picture, that would be a great help.
I'll pull it up.
Oh, someone got home.
Somebody got home?
Yeah,
I'm home.
Chris.
Oh, Chris.
I missed I went the long way home. I missed my turn on 190 while we were talking. So I went the long way.
I do stuff
All of a sudden I
like
was
that.
like, where am I? I'm driving and I'm like, where am I? I have no idea where I am. I was like, oh, that's just 495. That's not what I want.
Mhm, I did
That's okay.
twice in one trip, Chris. I took a very long scenic tour through various parts of Littleton a couple weeks ago, so I get it.
Dave, do you have any questions for Chris, Ruth?
Just a quick check-in. Chris, did you get the message I left in regards to the swing at Wallace?
I did get the message. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. It's you're talking that back playground there is missing a swing, correct?
Yeah, I've still got to check with the fire chief on the story behind it. One of the young ladies that lives right next to the park there asked me about it when I was over there a couple of weeks ago. I think I told Angela the story. And,
Yeah, I was
so
actually
yeah.
there today. So I saw it today.
Yeah. So it had to be cut out. I'll add to the story later when we're in person.
Okay.
Right. All right. And I know, Chris, there are a couple more things that, we're gonna talk about it. That's good. Angela, do you have any updates that items are not on the agenda? Or-
I just have the beach questions that Karen forwarded me, so I
Okay.
have those
Do you wanna-
answered them.
Do you want to give an update to the commission of what you have lined up for the summer? I don't think they're aware of what you
Sure.
have. Okay.
Yeah. So right now we only have 2 programs open. So we have the best soccer program that's going to be running. Hopefully, I think we have about 3 signups so far for it. And then we also have one of the STEM programs with Snapology. So those 2 are active and up right now. So we do have some registrations coming in for those. I'm just getting some more details for a few more programs. So I think we're all set for basketball. We just have to get a flyer going, but we do also have basketball coming for the week right after school. So that's just going to be a half day morning program for those. We also have one more that I'm trying to get together for Wicked Cool for Kids. So that's another type of STEM program. So those are just a few that we're trying to get the details hammered out for, but I think all of those will be a great addition.
You also have the multi-sport program that's going to
Yeah.
come 2 weeks of that. And you're working on one other with the Nashville River Watersheds Association. That one is a little further out.
Yeah, so I think that would actually be the last program of the summer because it's not the last week of August, but I think it's the second to last week that would be. So that'd probably be the last program for the end of
Okay.
that.
Okay, so, you know, I'm counting here, so you have this soccer, Snapology, basketball, Wicked Cool. I know that one, it's not for sure yet. The 2 weeks of multi-sport program and the 1 week with the Nashua River Watershed Association, which is going to be an outdoor program.
Yep.
So, you know, I think this is a good portfolio. Kind of, you know, we get a little bit of outdoor stuff with Nashua River. We have 2 STEM programs. We have a specific two specific sports programs, soccer and basketball. And then we have 2 weeks of multi-sport program, which kids tend to like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 weeks. Plus we'll have the town beach. And so I think, you know, that's good for a few weeks of work, Angela.
Yeah, I've been trying. It's definitely a lot of work, but I think this will be great. And it's just more now about getting the word out there that the programs are open. So I think once we do that, I think we're gonna have a good turnout.
Okay, did the schools tell you when they will be adding this information to their email?
No, but I will ask her.
Okay, all right, okay. No, this is good. All right. Okay, so since that's the update, Chris, Pat, Dave, do you guys have anything for Angela, Karen?
Nope, I do not.
No, actually, great to meet you the other day. I echo what Dave said. Nice to have you in the center of town, you know, which is great. And I think off and running here with some good programs that have historically been popular and should continue to be so. So and adding a couple of new things here too. I love some of the STEM programs too, which is great. So thanks for your efforts so far and welcome aboard.
Absolutely, thank you.
Pat?
No, just welcome aboard. I haven't had a chance to stop by. Our schedules aren't conducive to meeting during the day, so but I'm going to make some time to swing by and say hi and meet you. So, but welcome aboard. Can't wait.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, Pat, one thing I'll tell you before you left, I did ask Catherine from WOLA if there was a way to make the basketball court at Marshall to be a deck hockey too.
Any hockey would be good.
I know. So we'll see, but hopefully we'll get that. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item of the agenda. That's because that's items that we'll need Chris and Angela. And Town Beach staff hiring, review data from previous years, candidates, and make recommendation accordingly. So Angela, you're going to be walking us through what you have. Usually, so you know, the Parks Commission makes a recommendation for the hiring, and that's why we like having information.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I didn't have a ton of information to go off of just because I didn't see many records from last year. So I don't have a full account of everything from 2022 beach season. As of right now, same beach director we had last year, and then same exact lifeguards. So there's 6 lifeguards that all worked last year as well.
Okay. And where are we with the hiring process?
So I haven't done anything else with that. Julie did send me, I think there was only one Indeed application. So she said, so she got 2 applications in. I only saw one from Indeed. So I'm not sure where the other one is. I can definitely ask her about that.
Angela, if I can chime in too, I believe Julie sent emails to all of the staff. They weren't true formal, you know, your hired letters type of thing, but it was basically welcome back type of thing and schedule a time to come in and get your query checks and all your paperwork taken care of. So it looks like everyone from last year has been told that, you know, welcome back.
Yeah. Yep, and I did get all their certifications in, so everyone's up to date. Liz was supposed to take her WSI today, so I'm not sure how that panned out, but hoping that went well, and then I can check in with her on that.
Okay.
Anna, through you, this process needs to go to the select board, so we need to make sure we follow the proper procedures and, you know, our recommendation then to the town manager, and then town manager has to have it ratified by the select board on an annual basis.
Right, that's what we were talking about it, so.
Yep.
Yeah, do you have any questions, Dave? About,
No, not at this point. I just want to make sure that Angela and Chris were aware that it isn't just a simple welcome back type of thing. That they've got to be presented to the select board and officially hired back for seasonal help or whatever it's called. Other
right,
than that, good.
Can I make a motion then that we,
well, can we get, we usually have name, Angela, can you, so, hold, I have some questions. Angela, can you please confirm that everyone is CPR certified and they have the lifeguard certification?
Yep. So they all have that Red Cross lifeguard certification, which also is their CPR and AED training that they completed.
Okay.
Yep, and I have all of the hard copies of them, and
Okay.
they're all good until 2024 at least.
Okay, did we get anyone that so what we know and we talked about earlier is that Liz is getting her WSI certification this week some point. Do we know if any other lifeguards became WSI certified? Because I know Chris Ruth had offered reimbursement.
From what I saw, nobody responded to that and said they were gonna get it again or re-up it. I
Okay.
know you said, I think it was Nick that had his last year, maybe. I didn't hear from him about that.
Okay,
But I can definitely reach out and see if, I mean, I'm assuming he would have done it already, but if not, I can reach out to him.
okay. Okay, can you read the name of the lifeguard candidates? So their names for us? Can you read them?
Oh, yep. And so I do have their hours as well that they did last year. I don't know if you need those right now.
Yeah, if you want to just tell us in average, how many hours of lifeguards did we have per week?
I like I said, I don't have it per week. I'd have to do that separately, I guess.
Okay,
Because all I have is basically their names and the total amount of hours and what they worked in 2-week period. So
oh, okay,
I'll give you their names first. So Jared Bowser is first.
Mhm.
Looks like last year in general for the summer, he did about 258 hours. And then we also have Mason Bowser. He did about 249 hours. Nicholas Coronella, 201 hours. Probably not going to say this last name right. Paige
that's okay.
Gangler.
Okay.
Get it correct.
She did about 174 and a half hours. Ethan Gangler, 296 hours. Ian Laundrie, 189 hours. And then the last one is Liz Simone, the beach director. She did 378.50 hours.
Okay. And how many weeks was the season last year?
So it looks like, it says check date. So first check went out the 7th of July, and then the last one, September 1st.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
closed the weekend before Labor Day last year.
Okay.
And if we had, you said a check went out July 7th, right?
Yeah, July 7th.
So you don't have fiscal year, you don't have the previous fiscal year, right, Angela?
Right.
Okay, so there, these hours, they probably worked a few more hours because the end of June would have been in the previous fiscal year. Which is why you probably wouldn't have those hours.
Okay.
So, and I will confirm to you that they didn't, somebody had asked about attendance. They didn't keep attendance data last year.
Okay, yeah, I don't have much. I found 2021's
Yep.
attendance information, but I didn't find anything from last year.
Okay. Okay, so Chris Sullivan, if you want to make a motion for the lifeguards and if we could make a separate one for the town beach director.
Sure. Here on the
pending-
names, I did have one question did dawn on me that we had talked about in terms of beach season opening, or really more related to close, is how many of those lifeguards are seniors and when are they gone?
So we have 3 graduating seniors this year, Ian, Nicholas, and Mason. So they'll graduate in early June, and one of those guys isn't available. He's not going to be available till July, and the other 2, at least one of the other 2, it's not going to be available until what I believe is going to be beach opening weekend, which is June 24th-ish. Am I correct on that date,
Yeah, I
Anna?
think so.
Yeah, it's usually we open
Right
after
after school.
school's over.
Yeah. And then on the tail end, only one of our 3 seniors has committed to a college at this point. The other 2, from what I understand, have not yet made that commitment, but they will in the next 2 weeks. So once they do that, then we'll be able to look to see what their availability is. But I'm going to guess it's going to be probably the 3rd week of August. And then those 3 will be heading to
Forever.
college. Yeah.
Well, I'd make a motion to hire the slate of lifeguards, names as read by Angela tonight,
Okay.
for the 2023 beach season.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, Dave,
Aye.
Karen,
Hi.
Chris,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. So the motion passes. So for the beach director, whoever makes the motion, can we make it that's pending on that we make the motion for the hiring only happen after the certification is confirmed?
You can
Should
make that
happen.
motion, right? You're able to make
Okay.
that motion.
Oh,
Um,
okay, so moved.
I can make them. I'll make the motion
You already
I'll
said it.
well, but they're gonna have to write it out in the minutes, so we'll start over so it's clear for our minutes taker. So I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Elizabeth Simeone to the position of beach director, pending confirmation of the completion of her water safety instructor training.
Second.
Yes. All right, Dave,
Aye.
okay, Karen,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
and I have for myself. Okay. So that's,
Angela, do you want to go back to, do you want to go back to town manager with this vote that we just took, or do you want me to do it?
If you want me to, I will. You might have to walk me through it, but
Would I do this then? Why don't I CC you on an email that I'll send momentarily to town
Perfect.
manager?
okay.
okay, that's good. So the next item on the agenda is discussion and decision of town beach fees, which that includes also the swimming lessons fees. Are we, for baseball this year, we kept the same price as we did last year for Little League. Do we have any thoughts on changing the fees, the usage
Want me to
fees?
tell you what the fees were?
Why don't we do that? Let's start with that.
Okay, so our 2022 beach passes, this is for beach passes, not lessons, were $5 adult for an adult. This is day pass. So our day pass was $5 an adult, and that included 3 children 15 years of age and under. Senior day pass was $2 per senior, or if the person coming in, the adult coming in, had more than 3 children, it was $2 per additional child. That's for residents. Non-residents were $10 per adult and included 3 children, 15 or under. And non-resident was $5 per senior, and it would be $5 per additional child with that adult day pass. Resident passes seasonal for the full season were $65. Non-resident was $80. That was a family pass. Residential individual was $44. Non-residential individual was $60. It was $25 for a senior resident pass and $35 for a non-resident senior pass. And Angela, before you, I haven't looked to see if you're writing things down feverishly.
I'm so fast.
Don't. I have all of that, and I'll share a document with you later on our motions from June to July of last year, but I'm going to copy and paste it into an email for you right now anyway.
Great, thank you.
The only one that I'll recommend is maybe that adult and 3 kids, to maybe change that to be up to 4 people of the same family. Because if you don't, if 2 adults come, especially in the weekend, you would be buying, you'd be buying $10, which is not the worst, but if we think of a family of 1 adult plus 6 kids is a total of 4. So maybe changing that from 1 adult and up to 3 kids, to changing it to 4 people of the same family. I don't know. I just felt like we were counting, there was just a bunch of moms bringing their kids, but there might be families coming. I don't know if it needs to be addressed. We never heard any feedback. I was just thinking and overthinking, and sometimes I don't need to do that.
So I do think you're sort of, not necessarily overthinking it, but I think that, so our residential beach passes are $65 for a family. And I think that,
does that family have limit of number of kids?
no, we didn't put that limit on it. I don't,
Okay.
I'd have to double check, but I guess we don't want to make it more enticing to do a day pass than it would be to do a season pass. I would think we'd prefer to have more season pass holders than,
Okay.
paying the day pass users.
Okay, all right, I guess if, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts on these fees?
So my only comment on them is that they have now been this rate since
21.
uh,
I remember because it was the first year that I was here.
Yep. So this is you asked about a family. So there is actually limits. I just didn't have it on there. So for what we had approved in years past was for beach pass purposes, a family is defined as 2 adults and 3 children under the age of 18 living in the same address. Additional dependents up to 2 living under the same roof can be $5 per person added on. A senior is defined as anyone over the age of 60, and an individual is defined as anyone over age 3 and above. A child is defined as anyone under the age of 18. So it's basically saying you need to have a beach pass for anybody over 3 years of age and older.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I think I'm good. I just remember having that thought about having 2 adults, but honestly, paying $10, even if they choose to just go in for the day, is not. It's fairly affordable to have access to the beach all day.
And then on swim lessons, I'm not seeing anything here that we've changed it from what it's been in the past, which was $25 a child with a $75 family cap per session. So if you had 4 kids, you'd only have to pay $75 for for each session that they're in a swim lesson. That would be the maximum.
Okay.
That hasn't been changed since 2019.
Okay, Chris, Ruth, do you know how we were short a few $1,000s for the beach staff in our budget this year. Do you know how much that was?
I don't have it in front of me. I want to say we had gone over by roughly $3,000 to $4,000 from, what was in the budget. That being said, we moved some money from the Angela's salary line because the position was vacant for a while. And on top of some of the repairs, so there should be enough left in the account to cover the overage.
Okay. I'm just thinking, do we need to change some of these fees in order to help this coming?
I want to, I guess, throw some commentary in there, and Chris and Angela can try to see if they can figure it out. So I don't think $25 per child swim lesson, I don't think that's obviously unreasonable. I don't even think it's unreasonable if we were to bump it up to $30 and $90. I think that any way we do it is fine. I would like to have a better understanding moving forward, and I guess this sort of might even go into your next agenda item, Anna, which was the attendance data. I would like somebody, at least this year, I know you can't look at years past and try to figure it out, to understand better what our staffing needs are at the beach, because there's been many times where, I drive by the beach at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and there's nobody there, and we have 3 staff members on. So I feel like we have had staff there when we maybe didn't need to have 3 people on, and maybe we only needed 2. And that would, if we could figure that out, that would equate to some savings if we were able to bring it down to just 2 lifeguards there versus 3. But I'm good any direction you guys want to go. I just wouldn't, I wouldn't support doubling any of the rates. But if we needed to jump up a few bucks, I'd be in support of that.
To add on to that, if I may, we've done quite a bit of work to the beach house in this year. But that being said, it needs some loving over there. So if the fees went up a little bit and the money was able to be saved for some future renovations, it wouldn't hurt. But and I also don't disagree with, there's no reason to have 3 lifeguards if the beach is empty. So those are my only thoughts.
The other thing is, would we need to see how many specific people we would need as lifeguards depending on the number on the beach? I'm assuming there has to be some sort of regulation for that.
So that's a loaded question, Angela. And I may have alluded to some of this stuff in my discussions with you. I've never, in my 7 years now of doing this, I've never been able to get a good understanding of what is required by law. Nobody seems to know. Every time I've asked the question, it's, well, this is how we've always done it. And how they do it makes sense. It probably makes sense for the bulk of the day to do it the way they're doing it. But there comes a time where, from 5 to 7, maybe we don't need to have 3 lifeguards on. Maybe it can be cut down to 2 and still be in that comfortable range of having, enough people for the protection of our beachgoers. But nobody's really been able to tell me.
Okay.
So,
one thing, Karen, when you and I were looking at something of that, we did find it on the state website that they had a recommendation. They said you should have a policy written, and they had a recommendation of, 25, 1 lifeguard for every 25 people in the pool. We did find that information somewhere in the state website. But I think, like Karen said, this is, since this Chris Ruth's and Angela first year at this, I think these are more things to observe and write it down as we go through this first season, and have a solid plan for the following year. Changing operations without having experienced them, or working with a person who's there, I wouldn't recommend it. There just might be things that we're not aware, but I would suggest to Chris and Angela to work closely with Liz this year to learn of the operations and how she manages, and ask questions why. Because I think that's how we can make things better there. In terms of the fees, I do think we can probably increase it a little bit if kind of echoing a little bit where Karen is going with it. Does anybody else would support a slight increase to the swimming lessons? And how about the resident pass, Karen?
So do you want to, so are you?
I'm
throwing this-
asking, why don't you just make a suggestion?
Okay, so I didn't come prepared to make suggestions, so I'm winging this as I go. Do we want, so currently our resident day passes are $5 an adult, which includes 3 children. If we want to increase that, do you want to increase it by $1 or $2? I wouldn't go to $10, but $1 or $2 could probably be supported.
We're a cat. I mean, I'd throw out there when you increase it, you know, $1 or $2, we do have to take cash, which just leads to making sure we have, you know, pile of singles, you know, at the town beach to maintain, you know, to you know, track and be, you know, make sure we have that on a daily basis.
Andrew,
It
were
just
you
adds another layer to that deal.
Angela, were you able to see the transactions on MyRec last year for beach passes?
Um,
Okay, if you didn't, I don't want to put you on the spot like that.
yeah, I'll look more into it.
I'm just curious of how many
There
days.
wasn't a lot of stuff on my rec that I could find from last year. That was the issue. But I'm sure it's probably somewhere. So I'll check after the meeting and I'll see if I
Okay.
can find
I was just curious how many day passes we sold, because I know that we've always wanted, we had one season where we didn't accept cash, right, Anna? That was like the summer 2020, and we didn't like that.
Yeah, I mean, by law, we have to invest.
So, I mean, Chris, on the cash side of things, you know, we may be able to set it up again this year that they could also have the option of purchasing a day pass online as well, if, you know, they didn't want to pay cash. But yes, you're right, we would have to have a stack of free cash or petty cash. And Angela, that needs to be sorted out if you want to add it to your, how does the beach go about getting petty cash drawer? In years past, some of the beach staff made their own petty cash drawer and then just took the money out, which I suppose is fine if they don't mind doing it, but I never want anybody that we employ in town feel like they have to put their own money forward.
Right.
Create a petty cash account. So I mean, I think Chris is right in terms of, you know, $6, we're gonna be handing it, you know, some ones back, but
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Well, I would say let's go for 7. 7, so we can change it to the,
Anna, before we get all tied up in this for 2 or 3 hours, I'd like to make a motion that we leave the fees as they were for last year at all levels.
well, we're discussing to increase and it
I
seems
have a
that,
motion on the floor. If I can get a second, we need to vote on it.
oh, okay, Dave, but you made a motion while there was a discussion happening. So if you could,
There's no motion on the floor. All it is discussion. We're gonna waste an hour nickel and diming this thing to death. As far as I'm concerned, if I thought it could pass, I would make a motion that all town residents get to participate at the beach for free. And we only charge non-residents. But, you know, a service to the taxpayer. And I don't see why we need to nickel and dime them for a buck here, a buck there. As far as I'm concerned, the rates are fine. The cost to repair the buildings and the work at the beach is a result of neglect for the past 25 years, and I don't think that the present users should bear that burden. So that's my reason for the motion.
okay, but does Dave have a second
I'm
on
inclined
that?
to second Dave's motion. I was gonna ask a question before I did that. It was, have we publicized anything yet as far as beach fees this year? I don't know that we,
No.
that was
No.
my question. Okay.
I
But
have.
I would
people
second Dave's
tell me
motion. I think
about
I
it. just so you know, people have already been asking me and I didn't have an answer, so I didn't answer their question necessarily. I said we'd get back to them, but
I'd second Dave's motion, at least for this year. I think things are pretty tight, economically for families. People are kind of struggling all over the place. I don't think in the near future it's going to get any better. I think we're heading towards a little bit of a recession here and so forth. And if we can lighten the burden on folks a little bit this year and have a thoughtful discussion, I think going into next year, once we have the data, we know what staffing needs to look like and so forth. I think it is something that should be on our agenda early in the fall, September, October meeting kind of deal to really go through a discussion on, what the fee structure should look like and so forth, and what our staffing issues should be and so forth. But yeah, it's a long way of saying I'd second Dave's motion.
All right, any discussion?
I could go either direction.
I think the fees are due for a slight increase. What I've seen, in terms of pricing is, people that sit on it, especially organizations, they don't make slight changes. And then when they go to review the fees, they double, and that is a big shock on the community. No, I don't see anyone who wouldn't be able to get in the beach because they, if they can pay $5, they would be able to pay $7. And the reality is we were very short in cash this year. And any kind of, it's not a self-funding program, but it's one that, we need to put a little cash on the coffer because the expenses are high. So I would hate for us to get into a place where we need more repairs. We need, to redo the staff, and we sat here and we didn't do anything, the little that we could do. So that's my thought on that.
I'd like, if I could, through you, Ann, I asked Chris how much money was taken from the revolving account to do repairs.
30,000.
So there's 35,000 or more left still in there.
That was a combination of several years of savings. Any other work that we need we're already halfway. So one repair took half of the money. Anything else we need will need to be tapped into that. So I don't see the economics working. And on top of that, hold on, Dave, you asked a question. And on top of that, we were $4,000 in the hole for staff from what was budgeted. So, unless someone tells me how we'll be able to keep up with the updates that we need to, and, cover for the money that we don't have on the staff, So this is the part that we can do to help with the operations, is to add $5 here and there. And we're talking about less than 10% on everything. We're talking an average of 5%. So we collected about 20,000 last year in beach fees. So it will help us a little bit.
Yeah, I just say I disagree, and that's why I made the motion.
Yeah, that was
But it's
clear.
not, but it's
One
not,
line item in deficit with money transferable to cover the deficit is sufficient as far as I'm concerned. We do that in the town budget all the time.
Gotcha.
You're nitpicking the line items, and I don't think that's a proper way to look at it from a revenue and cost point of view.
I'm looking at the one that I have control over, the one that I have an opinion over, and the one that I can do something about it. That's what I'm doing. So, okay, any other thoughts on it? Okay, let's go for a vote. Karen,
No.
Pat,
Yes.
Chris Sullivan,
yes.
Dave,
Yes,
a no for myself. So it's a 3-2. The fees will stay the same.
Thank
All
you.
right, so that moves on to the next item on the agenda. Town beach use attendance data. Angela, so like you saw last year, we didn't have a lot of data. I'm wondering, what can we do for data?
I will check my rec and see what I can see on there, but I went through all of the stuff that was Parks and Rec at DPW, all the paperwork, and I couldn't find anything. So I don't know how they were taking
Okay.
any
So I
notes or
don't,
back.
yeah, I think Karen has some ideas how they used to do.
You
I
putting-
don't know if it was accurate, but you
Oh,
know,
no,
having,
there's been two ways that have been done in the past. The first two, I believe 2020 and 2021, the reason that we had fairly accurate attendance numbers was because we required registration on MyRec. So in order for somebody to use the beach, I believe they had to log in and register for a time slot. I don't know if you guys remember that. And that was because of COVID protocols that they were following. In 2019, and I do have them, that I don't think they're worth anything because I don't believe there is any accuracy to them. We did request in 2019 that they keep track of the visitors at the beach. I believe it was 3 times a day, but there were things like every head count ended in a 0 or a 5. And then there were other times where I would drive by the beach, make a note in my phone of the attendance. And a few of those times they were taking attendance at approximately the same time. They weren't even close to matching. I would see nobody on the beach and they'd show 17. So
Okay.
that wasn't accurate. And I don't know how to make that accurate because I think that there's like a panic that goes in when they go to write down the numbers, that if they can't show that there was attendance, that it's going to mean that there's going to be a change in the beach. And they don't
Right.
necessarily see that that's not true. Or maybe maybe the next day came and they totally forgot. So instead of writing, we forgot to take this, they just wrote down another number. We didn't have the same beach staff at that point in time. So I don't think what I have for documentation is overly accurate. So I don't know the best way to keep it this year, whether it be, some sort of clicker unit, whether, I don't know. So hopefully you can sort that mess out.
Okay. Yeah, and I did find some of the clickers, so we have 2.
And we do have a younger kid, Jared Bowser, one of our lifeguards. He might even have some ideas. I know that sometimes he watches our meetings after the fact, so he may have some ideas on, how to best deal with it. Just because he's that younger generation of tech-minded kids, and so yeah, he may have some ideas there.
Okay.
The one more quick thing on the beach, not really, well, I guess it's sort of related to attendance. And that is and I have to go back and pull it up. Dave, you might remember some of this, but we had issues where we would have rain in the forecast, or there would be rain or thunder and lightning, and the beach would remain open. And then we changed that. We changed it through a policy, didn't we, Dave? Do you remember?
Yeah, I'm thinking it through right at the moment. We left that up to, at the time, the DPW director, I believe. He made a decision if it was going to close for the day, and that would go to the rec director or
Yeah.
facility director. I would say the rec director, with a little bit of guidance maybe from the facilities director. That's a tough one because, you know, you have a band of thunderstorms come through at 11 o'clock and the rest of the day is beautiful. You really hate to close the
Yeah.
beach all day.
I don't think it was, I don't, if I remember correctly, I don't think our train of thought, you know, however many years ago we had discussed this last, was that it needed to close for that quick band of showers or a thunderstorm coming through. It was more when it was slated to be a complete washout of a day. There was no reason for the beach to open, but hopefully, Angela, you can work with the beach director to sort of come up with a policy or something on how that would work, and maybe you could report back to us. Because the other thing that comes into play there is that there's some state laws around employment and calling somebody off. So I don't remember what those are exactly, but I do remember it was something like, if you sent somebody home early, you had to pay them a minimum of X amount hours. So you might just want to see if you can, you know, in all of this unlimited free time that you have going on, which I don't have. So to see if you can figure out some of that, and the town may already know that, or maybe Chris even knows it. Chris Ruth knows it. I don't know. I just, you know, what I would really stink to happen is to have 6 lifeguards come in and suddenly we have a horrendously rainy season where, you know, we're calling everybody off left and right because those kids are not going to want to come back the following year. So
Right.
there's some sort of meat in the middle, you know, being able to come up with something that works. So we're not open when it's pouring rain and nobody's there and paying 3 staff members.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, so can we have the takeaway from this item, Angela and Chris, is that you guys will come up with a way that you think will best address how we can get an idea of each use on a daily basis? This was Town Beach use attendance data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And I think just having at least them know that, try and make it as accurate as they can. I know, like you said, that was probably a while ago, but instead of them just making up numbers, because that's not helpful. So I think even like Karen said, even writing forgot to take the count at that time, it would be useful information just to know that it's not a fake number.
right. Okay. All right, I think the last item that kind of plays with you guys is the mowing schedule. Chris, do you want to just tell us what you have planned? Because that mowing schedule is always something that we always end up hearing about it.
Yep, so I met with the landscapers and walked every town facility with them. Kind of went over the history and some of the complaints and some of the other stuff. And I think a lot of it was due to some communication errors on the town side where, you know, my position was filled for a while, then it wasn't, and the transition from DPW and the director over there is new as well. I think it was just poor communication all around due to that. We did discuss the schedule as, you know, spring mowing during the seasons, all that. Having, you know, a set day that they're going to mow, you know, every Wednesday at 11 or something is difficult in the landscaping world because, you know, we were just talking about rain. So when it rains, they get pushed. And if it's, the reality is, you know, as soon as the sun decides to come back out, they'll probably be mowing every 4 days on at least the baseball fields and getting that. I think at the moment, just to deal with complaints that were there in the past, you know, I live in town. When I drive into work every morning, I drive and check on Marshall. I drive, you know, at least 2-3 times a week. I check on McNally and those, you know, Fitzgerald's a little bit further out, but for now, I think I'm going to continue checking on it until we've got a routine and everyone's happy. I did also discuss with them that we want notifications before they fertilize, only because I would hate to see, you know, you don't want to have them fertilize and then have a Little League game play out there the same day. So they agreed to all that. It's just, you know, a true mowing schedule is going to be, it's only going to last a week before it's off and then it's shifted.
Okay. All right, is everybody okay with that? Chris, before I open to the board, we I would just appreciate if you could have a conversation with Little League about it and just create a means of communication if they have a problem, how to communicate with us. just so they know that, if there is a problem, they know who to reach out to, and also set up the expectation with them, what they should expect to see when they get to a field.
Yeah, I'm happy to reach out to Greg and, to be honest, I've told everybody I'm in and out of the office so often, so if there's any issue, text me, call me, if it's okay with the Parks Commission, I think the method should be if anyone sees an issue with it, reach out to me and say, hey, the field looks like it has an issue. That way I can get it right to the landscapers. Truth be told, because of the complaints, which I think some of them were their issues and some weren't, but they were looking to drop the town as a client because of, they felt that they were getting an unfair shake at it. So I think communication to me, and then, I'll take it directly to them and handle it. They're not in town guys, but they're from Leominster, so they're not far away. And they want to make a good impression. They want to look good as well. So I think that's the best method is everyone just, if you drive by and see there's an issue, shoot me a text, an email, a call, and we'll go from there.
Okay, all right. As long as they know that, and I think we should be good. All right.
The words out of my mouth, Anna, that's what I was thinking about there. Like the usual complaints we had last year were, it didn't appear that things were mowed twice in a season, which it should be mowed twice, and the grass was long for a baseball game and so forth. So I think between the AD at the, at the high school, as far as, baseball, softball schedules, and Little League, softball, as long as there's a set way that they're going to communicate if, grass is long at a practice and there's a game the next day kind of deal. Is there a way they can, best way for them to communicate back to us kind of deal? That was what my thought would be on that. But otherwise, I definitely understand the set schedule can be a challenge, but as long as they're abiding by what's in the contract, then, that's what we got.
Yeah, all right. Is that good with you, Chris? Ruth, yeah, it sounds like you're good. Okay.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I'd prefer not to have to use my own mower to mow Marshall ever again. So I'll be all over that.
All right, that sounds good.
Anna, one quick question for Chris. Did you broach the subject, and I don't even know if it's still in the contract, because I know there were some adjustments made at one point, as to bagging the grass versus not bagging the grass when they're mowing?
So their contract, during the beginning of the season, and I believe it goes until the baseball leagues are done, they should be bagging everything. Once they get into late August, September, it's typically going to be a double cut and let the grass fly, which is actually pretty good for the grass because it gives it some nutrients back. And then, first thing of the season, they thatch and suck all the dead grass off anyway. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I think that's all we have for you guys. Does anyone have anything so Angela and Chris can get going with their nights? We have a few more items on our agenda.
Anna, just one more quick question for either Angela or Chris. Have you guys been able to connect with Kara at the Board of Health so that you guys are on the same page for the requirements for the beach opening through the Board of Health?
Are you referring, that's for the water testing?
It's for water testing, and I think you've got to have some other certification also, but it may be just water testing. It seems to me there's something else also.
Yeah, we are in the schedule. They're going to, we have the document that's the official seasonal worker thing for the beach. We gave them those dates, and they're going to start their testing the week before the beach could be open based off of that, because they needed to do it a week ahead of time.
Yeah,
And she
okay,
has all of our contact info and all that stuff.
super. As long as you guys have connected, that should work.
Yep, I believe we're all set.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Chris, Ruth. Thank you, Angela. Hope you guys have a good night, and thank you for being here.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
thanks, everyone.
I'm hitting send in a second, Angela, on that email about beach fees for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is, are you smarter than a sixth grader? Team name discussion. All right, Chris Sullivan. Now I can just say Chris. There's only one Chris left on the meeting.
So we can have, Are You Smarter Than a Sixth Grader is for, just so everyone's on the same page, it's a one of the larger fundraising events for the Boys and Girls Club here in town on an annual basis. Takes place every April. This year's at the end of April. Various years, town boards and commissions and so forth have had added teams. Parks Commission is going to have a team there this year. We can have up to four members on the stage. So I was building off of trying to create a theme for our team and build off kind of Parks and Recs and so forth. Taking off my backdrop, Ron Swanson's desk from Parks and Rec. So kind of just messing around on the internet, found a couple of suggestions of team names. I sent those over to Anna. We figured we'd have a quick discussion here and get a consensus here. So a couple of, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the show or not. If you're not, it's not going to make any sense. And
Chris, that's next week, right? It's
Yeah.
next Friday, not this Friday.
Next
not this
Friday.
Friday, next Friday.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you gonna be able to join us, Pat?
Yeah, I'm working this Friday, so I was just making sure.
Okay.
So if you've seen Parks and Rec, the names will make sense. If you haven't, they don't make any sense. But anyone in the audience that has seen Parks and Rec should hopefully get a little bit of a laugh. Two names. One, Little Sebastian's tribute team. Little Sebastian is an episode of Parks and Rec. It's a tiny horse that the town of Pawnee falls over. And the other is from Rob Lowe's character in the show. This is literally Chris Traeger's favorite team. He says the word literally in the show consistently. So that's where that one comes from. So yeah, that's our deal. So if someone has any thoughts or a better name, or we just want to go with Park Commission,
No,
we
it's
do
gotta be
that.
fun.
I like the Sebastian one.
Me too. Yeah. Karen, what do you like?
I have none. I don't know how I got suckered into this, so I'm good with whatever Chris puts forward.
We have to do better than the Finance Committee last year, Karen.
I'm on your team. You have no hope. There is no hope. I don't know what. If you people think that I'm smart, again, every degree I have is in my own head. Like I've given it to myself. No.
It's like calling you Dr. Karen.
Like I'm gonna be looking for the fire alarm thingy because I'm gonna think we need to escape because we're gonna do so bad. So whatever name you give us is fine.
Chris, do you have a suggestion? Do you have a
Fine,
favorite?
I'm fine with Little Sebastian's tribute team. That's good by me.
Okay. So be it. All right. Don't think we need the official vote for that.
I'm sure. Yeah, my motion seems odd.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
A little bit.
All right. Okay. And are we dressing up like someone coming as Leslie Nope and Ron Swanson? Karen can be the.
People are. I have never ever.
Karen, you could be the one.
I'll send you the Little Sebastian episode anyway, so you can watch
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I can come dressed as a tablecloth and serve. What is that? Scrambled eggs and bacon. I mean,
All the bacon. He wants all the bacon, Karen.
all the bacon. I mean, I'll
all the
come with a
bacon.
box of bacon. I mean, I don't know.
Ron Swanson is the greatest libertarian of our time.
Okay.
All right. No, that's good. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody who said yes to it.
We can get T-shirts. We can get Little Sebastian T-shirts.
Oh, we could. Do you think we can have it made in
Sure.
time?
They're online. I mean, you can just order them online. We could order T-shirts online and just get them shipped.
Sure, that sounds great.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll find a shirt. They're probably $20 or something.
Yeah.
Good thing I got overtime this week.
Everyone send me a size.
Okay.
Do we have four? So we can only have four. Dave, are you around? Like, we need to.
Yeah, no, I think Anna's aware. I'm not available all week.
Okay. All right. We'll try and do you justice, Dave.
All right, okay, that's good.
All right, everyone let me
Um,
know, send me a text with the size and I'll find shirts.
Okay, that's
All right.
awesome. All right, moving on to the next item, Lunenburg Youth Baseball Softball League request. They asked to put placing a shed on Marshall Park and for storage. And their suggested locations were first base side of the softball field. So I guess that would be,
In between
well, that would be between
the first base.
the 9-foot diamond, yeah.
In between
um,
the two.
The second location leveled in the back of the announcing booth by Powell Field, or on the crest out past center field across the driveway at the softball field. So guess like on the other side. Do we have any thoughts on these?
Is this what kind of structure are we?
He said one of those plastic sheds, and he knows, we're working on having the project work.
The
so
temporary, this is a temporary.
It's a temporary, yeah,
Structure that they're not out a bunch of money on a nice shed.
right.
that kind
I
of
think
thing.
he said he got it as a donation.
Okay. Did they have a preferred location? Is this order of preference or?
He didn't say. He had mentioned when I went to the, I was at the Marshall cleanup, and he mentioned, and I said, please send an email with your locations, and he did. I think it, I don't think a plastic shed is very appealing to the eye. I mean, it's a nice little park. I think, the second one, although it feels like the most precarious location, leveled in the back of the announcing booth. But right now there's a bad shape type of picnic table back there. So maybe in that corner there against the fence.
There's a pitching.
Yeah,
On the first baseline between the softball field and the outfield of the 90-foot diamond, I think there's a pitching.
Yeah, there is. I'm
Right.
looking at it right now.
So-
That's why I was looking at that. Yeah, I think they're not gonna get one there. It'd probably have to be there or that one behind, but the one behind the outfield is gonna be a ways away for them to do anything with. Because they want it into the wood line, right? Is that what it said?
That's what it sounded for the third option. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it sounds like.
Across
It
the
sounds to
driveway
be
at the
really
softball
far.
field and get some
Yeah.
players.
Probably like around where the old skate park used to be. The other thing about the option, the second, yeah, I mean, we don't know the area that skate park is gonna need for their construction yet on that area, so anything, I don't think
Right.
it's gonna affect, but I think the second option is
That's
my,
probably gonna be it. Kind of what
Okay.
it looks like.
anybody else have any thoughts on
Anna,
this?
could you describe that second option for me again, please? The one
It
you
reads, leveled in the back of the announcing booth at the Powell Field. So probably in between the snack shack of the softball field, like if you make a triangle against the chain link fence of the 90-foot diamond back there.
Yeah, and you mentioned the dilapidated picnic table. That's the one that they moved away from the other side of the Susan Ware building and put it over kind of off out of the way towards Powell Field backside.
Yeah, so I'm thinking,
Yeah, anywhere back there is going to put it out of the way and more or less out of sight, except maybe long distance from the 90-foot diamond, because you're going to have the bankings in the way, blocking the view between the two fields. The building that's behind home plate on the softball field, the Susan Ware building. So if it's in back there, I think that's a good place for it, and it's central for
their
their
uses.
users. Yep.
Okay. All right. Do we need to vote on this, Karen, you think?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right,
And it's
so,
close to the cave.
so I make a motion that we allow the baseball, softball youth league to place a shed behind the announcing booth at the Powell Field against the chain link fence of the 90-foot diamond. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, Karen,
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Dave, Pat?
Aye.
All right, and I for myself. All right, the next item request that they asked was, Greg is trying to get sponsors to do some fundraising. And he said he does have some people that are willing to give them some money, and he asked for authorization to place banners along the outfield fence. And I think that's something we have kind of like talked about it before.
We did years ago, and we actually requested that they take down the banners. I don't believe they were primarily over at McNally, and I think the reason we had asked for them to take down is just because they were in a state of disarray versus it's not that we didn't want them, they just didn't look good, and then they were remaining up year round and.
Right. So what Greg said is that they will take down in the fall. So maybe that can be part of the motion. I don't know if there's any other restrictions we want to make, such as no political signs.
So- The no political signs is the only one right now. I would probably say we should shy away from allowing, just because I don't think we're not.
Appropriate.
Well, and I don't think we need to get into the political game on parks, fields. I mean, it just.
Yeah.
Just doesn't seem to be in good taste. And I think anything else we would motion on that,
Okay.
and not like we can say, they need to be tasteful, because again, tasteful is up to the eye of the beholder, so.
Okay, so it's the political thing that we don't, okay. So how about this? I make a motion that we allow the Lunenburg Youth Baseball Softball League to place advertising banners along the outfield fence of the playing fields, as long as they are not of political nature and they are to be removed by the season and in the fall. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second that, but can I ask a question when you get to
Yeah.
discussion? Do we want to allow that at the softball field too, or just at the Little League? So, okay,
You're thinking of because of the high school, right?
correct? Correct.
Right.
I mean, I'm fine if, it opens advertisement, so I could just be overthinking the softball field. The one place I would not, absolutely positively not want to see any signs on the fence is down at Fitzgerald Field, because I think it obstructs the view from the road into that area. And I don't think I wouldn't want any obstruction, whether it be some kid runs to the car with their parents trying to watch them through a sign. I think that could be an issue, and having people out on the field and being blocked by us seeing them by a sign is not a great idea. So Fitzgerald Field is the only place I don't think I'd want to see signage on the roadside fence.
Okay. So are you okay with the softball?
Yeah, I unless somebody else can convince me that I'm not overthinking it, I think I'm fine.
I think
think
that
it's
makes
fine.
sense. I'd love to have it open up if high school teams can raise some funds too, and we might as well just have that vote now and it's on the table. I'd certainly support that.
Okay, so we'll just, so I'll,
And what you're saying about Fitzgerald, for sure. I agree.
yeah. So Karen, do you want to amend my motion?
Yep. So I'd like to amend on his motion to allow,
To not allow on,
to allow advertisement banners of non-political nature at Marshall Park and McNally Field.
can Karen get a second on her amendment?
Second.
All right. Karen,
Aye.
all right, Chris,
Aye, sorry. couldn't unmute.
okay, Dave,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
and I have myself. All right.
So we don't need to vote on the original anymore, correct? That,
Right, we just voted
No,
on
I
the
wouldn't,
amended.
no. Right.
Okay. Okay, so the next thing is wildlife removal from parks property. So I was talking with the DPW director recently, and he told me that they are considering removing the beaver from Marshall Pond again. And removing beavers is not the most useful way to approach the issue, because you remove one, the other one comes in. One DPW director ago was one that started removing beavers. Jack had never removed beavers. He had, but anyway, the main thing is, in terms of the life of the pond, is beavers are the only ones that actually eat vegetation on the pond. So we are not, it needs to be thought out further than just one thing. And since this is a parks property, I'm suggesting that we just make a policy that any wildlife that's to be removed from parks property, that it needs to get a okay from the Parks Commission.
I think that's overstepping our bounds, because the issue is it's blocking a culvert that is affecting the town road. So it has nothing to do with the parks property, and it's up to the Department of Wildlife for removal of beavers, not the Parks Commission.
That's
And
not.
we're spending thousands of dollars to keep that culvert open down there because of the beavers. And I disagree. There is a point where they need to be removed. Yes, they will be back. But we're wasting a lot of money down there. That pond almost went over into the road this time around because they blocked the culvert. Go ahead. If you want to go ahead.
No, it's just, let's talk money. A beaver deceiver is $4,500.
And does not work.
Okay, so I listened to you, and you were ready, when you made your motion, I was speaking, you jumped on me and made a motion. So if we could just get through, conversations, would be great. Thank you. So the beaver deceiver does work. You can do research on your own and find out that information. And I'm not saying we wouldn't approve. I'm just saying that that should be considered. It's not up to whatever department said. It's a requirement that he just needs to get something from the health department. So it is in our property. So that if he's going to put a trap on anyone's property, he needs to request that permission. So it is creating the same standard for a parks property that is for every other property. If he wants to put a trap on anyone's property, he has to ask that permission. And I'm not saying to vote one way or the other. I will have my thoughts when time comes, but I'm saying, let's have a conversation as he will with every other property. And when that time comes, I will share information about it, on what it works, what it doesn't, and I'll be happy to have specialists here that are even more passionate about than I am. But that's all. So I'm not saying don't approve, but to have the same policy as it is on everywhere that they go, they need to ask permission from the property owner.
So I agree with you. I feel like,
please.
So I feel like I do agree with you. I agree with Anna that I actually have an issue with removing of creatures, wild animals that are healthy from an area where they've called home. I feel like there are other ways to deal with it. What I don't want to have happen, if we try to put a policy through, is, and Chris Sullivan, I think you probably were there with me the day that we were down walking Marshall Park, and we had a very sick and injured, what was it, a porcupine?
An incident?
Yeah, and the police came, we actually reported it to the non-emergency line, and they came down and they actually had to, I think they consulted with the animal control officer or somebody, and then the decision was made to put that animal down. I wouldn't want to have an animal there suffering either, and have our policy prevent them from either removing that animal or putting it humanely or some
Right.
people, I guess, wouldn't
So-
think it.
Right, so Karen, so the policy can be that, unless in case of safety or of something, but in this case is that it's being planned ahead of time, contracting and spending money to, $15,000 every year to take a beaver out and then just come back and not considering other solutions that could be, and it's just, again, same policy as it would be for every other property that they need to address. So the policy can be of, as it would, in case of safeties or, or the animal control officer, although the animal control officer doesn't address wildlife.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Chris Sullivan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm kind of, I guess, I don't know, I'm torn on it. There is a stipulation at some point where you need to put something in there that says it, until a point it becomes a detriment to, surrounding properties and so forth. I'd hate, I guess I wouldn't support removing wildlife that's healthy to an extent, but I think at some point, if it does become like we're going to put a pocket park
Right.
down there, hopefully. And yeah, I mean, at some point, does it become, does that pocket park start to take on water because we have we have an issue or what have you,
Right.
so we need to, and I suppose we can just make, we can change the policy.
Right.
Yeah, they were down there digging out that culvert last week, I think. I saw them down there, kind of figuring that out. I think we have, there's other issues that we need to talk about with the pond and so forth, with weeds and the growth and so forth as well, that I don't know if that alleviates some of the issues as well beyond the animals, or beyond the beavers that are there. So I think for now, I think I wouldn't support removing them at the moment.
And what we're saying is, get the park commission's authorization prior to a planned remove. Not, don't remove it, just talk with the property.
Yeah, I think if we, so I mean, it still remains a case by case basis then.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine. I mean, I think, so I had that, I mean, I think that happened a couple of years ago where all of a sudden there was a lawn sign down on the corner of the pond because someone, had removed the beaver or whatnot a couple of years ago. I took the sign down because now we were advertising on the pond, without any sort of authorization or approval,
Right.
as well. I mean, I think if the policy is that they come to the commission before a decision is made, then we can consult with folks that maybe are more knowledgeable than we are and make that decision or authorization to remove the, we're not setting a policy to say, no, you can't, or yes, yes, you absolutely have to. Then it's case by case. I would, come before us, we listen to the logic and the reasoning and so forth. And if it makes sense, I think we're all smart enough to be able to make that decision.
Okay.
As a commission, working with experts to understand what the greater picture is.
Pat?
Yeah, I don't have a problem setting something up as long as it's not, yes, you can do it or no, you can't do it. As long as
Yeah.
we're setting it that, you come to us beforehand and ask us and, yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Dave?
I disagree. I think it should be left up to the DPW director, and as you said, the health department has to sign off on the permit. It's the way it's been done for decades and centuries, and they're not taking them out every 6 months. They're taking them out at a point where it's costing the town more money to maintain the level of the pond and protect Highland Street and that property or that dwelling next to the pond. This pond got so high this time, I can't believe that we didn't flood their basement. And there's your liabilities right there, the roadway bed and the small house next to the town pound. Beavers are not endangered species. They are protected somewhat by wildlife regulation. And in most cases, they're only removed because they've become a nuisance that's not manageable. And I think that's the way it's been dealt with in the past. And I don't think honestly, I don't think this commission has the authorization or the power, other than the fact that we have care and custody of the property. It is town property. And that if the town, through the DPW, who is responsible for the condition of the road, deems it necessary to remove them, and the health department agrees, I think that's sufficient. That's my position.
Because it's already, I'm gonna make a quick motion, since I add this item to the agenda. And then, then we can have a more discussion. So my motion is, I make a motion that any wildlife that will be removed from a park property that is not in the emergency case because of security or health, that the Parks Commission should be asked for authorization, that no wildlife should be removed prior to a Park Commission authorization, unless it's safety or health concern. Does that make sense, Karen?
Can I amend that before it's even?
Yeah,
seconded?
you can. I'm just trying to get quick.
I-
I'm trying to just make it quick so we can,
Yeah,
you know.
no, so I was writing something down before.
oh, thank you.
So making a motion requiring permission from the Parks Commission before planned trapping for purpose of removal or destruction of wildlife.
Yep, that's good.
I just don't, I don't want, again, I don't, because everything is so subjective to, somebody else's interpretation. So
Right.
Healthy wildlife? You say
healthy,
healthy?
emergency. Well, so planned trapping, I mean, I don't think that they
Yeah.
would plan. I feel like if they were gonna
True.
trap a sick or injured animal, that it would be done immediately with no pre-planning of it. It would just be call somebody and have them come in.
That's very good, Karen. That's very good thinking. Okay.
Do
I
we need to
think
say
that-
anything about while consulting? The logic and reasoning and so forth, or?
Well, I think we can address that when it comes to
Yeah.
me, so then it's a one small sentence policy type of thing.
Okay, that's fine.
That's my opinion, but if you think,
No, that's fine.
all right, is there a motion, Karen?
That's my motion, requiring permission from the Park Commission before planned trapping of wildlife for purposes of removal or destruction of wildlife.
All right, I'll second that. We'll start with Chris Sullivan.
Aye.
Dave,
No,
Pat,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and I for myself. All right, thank you. Item 14, this is pretty much the last item on the agenda. Everything else should be quicker.
So let me
Um,
do it, because this is
Yeah.
my first, so to even know if we're gonna continue with this discussion, did anybody read the document in the folder regarding the email from Adam Costa? And I'll say it's okay if you didn't, I just don't, if nobody did, then I think we should hold it. And I'm gonna put a plea in today asking you guys to just read it before the next time, because there's some wording in there that he's recommending be added or changed or that sort of thing.
Okay,
Yeah, as soon as I'm able to get into it, they changed my passwords and stuff on me. So as soon as I can get in on my town emails, I will absolutely read it.
the saga of Pat's town email.
Well, it was funny. They said I got in. I've been in for a month or so. That some guy texts me and says, "Oh, here's your new login stuff. Sorry it took so long." And I'm like, "Oh, that's okay. I've already been in." And I went to log in, and I can't log in. So I've had to call in for 3 days now.
All right, so should we pass this item on the agenda?
I haven't read it. I haven't read it yet.
That's fine.
either.
If
That
you
was
guys
all
could
day.
just read it, and I put the, I went back to, after one of our last meetings, when I said I would, I went back to town manager, asked for Chief Gamble to review it. You can see her response in it. She then forwarded it on to Adam Costa, who then forwarded back some, feedback. Some of it, it's not that I don't disagree. I don't agree or disagree with it per se. I just, it's not all 100% making sense in my head on how we're supposed to do some of this. So if you guys could read it, look again at what I sent over to Adam Costa, at what we had discussed at one of our last meetings, and then, we can go from there and make a plan.
Okay. That sounds good. All right, I'll keep that item for the next agenda then. Approval of the minutes. I did read those. More people read them?
So let's start with the first one, which is February. If anybody has read them and wants to make any, recommend any changes to them, now would be the time so I can make those changes. Otherwise, I am going to make a motion to approve the February 2023 minutes.
I second that. All right, Dave, do you want to start with that?
February's okay, yeah.
Okay. Chris?
Good. Aye. Yes.
Okay. Pat?
Yes.
Okay, I for myself, and you, Karen?
Yes, for me.
Okay. All right, next one.
That is going to be March of 2023. Those came in late yesterday, so if people haven't had time to read it, it's okay. We're still within the open meeting law to be able to postpone those.
Yeah, I'd like to have time to propose a rewrite of a section towards the end.
Okay, that is fine. I can't imagine anybody else is gonna have suggested rewrites to it. But so let's do this, Dave, because I think I know where you're going with the rewrites. Why don't you send those over to me, and only you send them over to me, and then I can incorporate them and re-upload them before our next meeting, and then anybody else who has feedback on those minutes can provide them in March.
Dave, do you want to tell us which section you want to rewrite? So if I see something I don't bother, go.
Yeah, it's
PDF.
the way my comments were portrayed in
The public comment at the end.
of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Dave, I actually, that part of it, I don't want to put it all back on our minutes taker. When they first came in, they didn't read right to me. So I went back on the video, but I said to myself when I put them online, I'm like, I don't think I did it justice, and I'm hoping Dave reads them. So send it over to me and I will get those corrected.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is chair update. The only thing I have is about Earth Day. There are a lot of projects happening in town. And it's going really, really well. We are keeping track of how many hours we have, and we have logged about 190 hours so far. According to Mary Wilson, she said that's a payback, that's a value of about almost $6,000 for the town. And we still have, I think, 4 projects for this coming weekend. Is going to be the last weekend. That's going to be happening. So And, you know, and we have signups, like this week I posted about the town pound and one other person signed up for another project. So it's really getting the conversation going. The other thing related to that is that Mary Wilson and I talked about going to the select board meeting on May 2nd, because at that time that the project's going to be wrapped up and we just want to give an update on public comment. Just to do it on the public comment and not for communication from other boards so we can get it in and out of the meeting quick. But the goal on that is to again, you know, have this conversation. You can volunteer, you can spend a couple hours and help the town on this and that. And, you know, hopefully next year we'll have even more signups. And also maybe next year we'll have more people volunteering to lead different projects. Because that's all it takes, is just get someone to lead one effort. Then you get like the town pound, you know, it was 2 families that came, and, you know, and it looks beautiful. It's just amazing the difference that a little raking does. Don't look in my yard, but, you know, the town's starting to look good. Hopefully
Should've
this
swung 'em right
weekend.
around the corner. You could have.
I know.
right
It's
around the corner.
like Saturday
over
was town pound, and then Sunday was taxes. So, you know, but hopefully this weekend I'll be working on that. So
I'll keep you posted on the track team too. I know not parks or, you know.
right, I was going to
conservation
ask
related
you,
necessarily, but
have you heard if they
there's good-
did something?
they haven't yet. No, they haven't yet. They'll coordinate that with me. I'll help them coordinate that. We'll get that figured out.
Okay.
Something during a track practice to, you know, my suggestion was to the history here is one of the track coaches reached out to me, saw the conservation and park plan to do some cleanup, and wanted to see if there was a project that was done that could be done during a track practice, which would be an after school activity. So my suggestion back was to maybe look at cleaning up portions of the Miles for Miles race course. Northfield in particular needs a lot of love. There's a lot of trash on the sides of the road and so forth. So that was a suggestion that I made, which could be done during a track practice. So there's some interest in that, but we just need to get that coordinated. They're just getting their season underway. So lots going on there, but we'll try and get that coordinated here and get that situated. I'll keep you posted with numbers.
Okay.
hours.
And I have trash bags, Chris, like plastic heavy duty. So if you want, I can drop a couple rolls at your house.
Yeah, I'll connect with the once vacation's over.
Okay.
I'll connect with the track coach again and just see if they're narrowing down a date and be back in touch with you on that front.
Okay, sounds great. And the other thing, it's not technically on the agenda, but next meeting date is on. Okay, so that's all I had for updates. I don't have anything else that came about. So that's it. So correspondence and public announcements, I don't have anything. Karen, do you have anything as a clerk?
I do. So our like forms that we have done in the past and approved it, that have sort of like policy information on it, they need to be updated because they all point back to the DPW director.
Okay.
So should I bring them individually, or should we have like a blanket? Like, I'm not changing any wording other than taking out DPW director and adding facilities director? Or
Yeah.
Seems
Or,
like a
I
very
mean,
straightforward motion to make that one change.
yeah.
Can we just
Can you do that in here? or
can we do that? Can we? I mean,
Yeah, I think we can do
we're not
that.
changing policy. Like I'll make a motion within our policies and procedures to change the phrase DPW director to facilities director.
Okay,
All
I'll
our
second.
documentation.
All right, take a second. Okay, any discussion? All right, Pat?
I
Okay,
I
Karen?
don't know if one.
Aye.
Okay, Dave?
Hi.
Chris?
Aye.
All right, and I for myself. Karen, when you bring this to, I'm assuming you're gonna be asking Angela to update them? I can probably help her with that.
Yeah, I have to, so none of the files, like they haven't been updated. They still have Kayla's email address and
Right.
stuff. Like that stuff doesn't need motions to fix because it's the contact, but I don't think she has the originals. So guess I just don't. I don't want to be throwing a whole bunch of stuff at her without. I don't want her to think we think she has unlimited time. So I have to figure out the best way to do it, whether it's me recreating the files in the
You
format.
can, they actually have PDF editors online that you can upload a PDF and edit it. If you literally Google PDF editors free online, you can do that. And then my suggestion is maybe we can create a library now that we have an organized network.
So, and the other thing is, and I'm waiting for the National Honor Society kid to finish. We do have somebody from the Honor Society that is going through the minutes. I don't know why it's taking these kids so long to do it. I think they're literally reading the whole thing and missing the fact that our motions and our votes are, because they're roll call, they stand out like a sore thumb. From at least from March of 2020 forward. But I have them, I have this one kid reviewing all of our motions from June of 2016 to July of 2022, minus minutes and adjournments, so that we have, you know, a record of all of our motions so that, you know, we can refer back to it. And as soon as they tell me that I hit everything and didn't miss any or somehow screw up the wording, I will make sure that they're out there for everybody to, you know, read and see, and, you know, Angela will have a copy. And then hopefully we'll just add to it. You would have thought I would have added to it tonight while I was sitting here, but no, that would have been too easy. So I'll have to go back and play catch up because I haven't done it in a while. So anyway, but that will be up sooner than later because they're almost done.
Okay. Okay. All right, and then any other public comment announcements?
Yeah, and just a reminder, anybody that listens to this meeting before Saturday, the Wallace playground cleanup is this Saturday 9 to noon. We'll be working on basically trying to level the chips out and cleaning up around the general area. And the Lions Club has donated snacks and drinks for the event.
Cool.
And the weather has shifted enough so that the rain's on Sunday instead of Saturday. So thankful for that.
All right, next meeting date.
One other, do we have?
Oh, I'm
another-
sorry, Chris.
No, yeah, just
I
while
apologize.
we're here and discussing the meeting date might answer my question, but just want to make sure we have another meeting with Dave before the election.
Officially, my term does not end until June 30th. I looked
Okay,
it up.
very good. Okay,
I was surprised also, but it's listed on the town webpage.
I very good. We'll keep you around then.
So once the election happens,
The term doesn't expire till June 30th, so nobody can step into the term unless it's vacant.
okay. All right, so next meeting date, the thing about it is we probably need to, that timeline that Wallace shared with us. They need to present the 50% documentation, and that's the meeting that's really is the big meeting, because that's when they're gonna get the survey, get the design, start. So that's the big meeting, really, is that 50%. So I don't know if what people's availability will be for then. I think that their timeline was second week of May, right? Wasn't that what it was? I'll have to watch.
I was driving, I couldn't see.
Yeah. Karen, do you recall? But it's sometime in May, but I don't know if it aligns with our regular schedule.
I can, yeah, I wrote it down. Hold on. Sometime between the 10th and the 17th.
Okay. So, which kind of aligns a little bit, but I think if it's okay with you both, is either going to be the 10th or the 17th. But I think we should if it's okay, that we leave it open, try to match with their presentation.
And are you gonna try to limit the agenda so that we have plenty of time to work with them? I think that would be prudent.
I actually was going to ask if we can do the next meeting in person, because that's a more important meeting than today.
Yeah, I should be available. I'm gonna be incapacitated for the next 10 days or so, but beyond that, I should be available just about any time.
Okay, so either the 10th or the 17th works with you?
Yes, it does at this point.
Okay. How about you, Chris?
In my calendar, I have conflicts both nights, but they can be moved.
But they would be what?
They can be moved.
Okay,
Like
Well, you
I'm
pa-
signed up to work the Snack Shack on one Wednesday night, and
Oh.
so I'd prefer the 10th over the 17th. The 17th, I have a basketball clinic that I've been helping out with at the high school.
okay.
So the 10th would be preferable, but I can.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll-
I can look at
I'll
it.
have a lacrosse game the 10th, so the 17th for me would be better. But if I miss a lacrosse game, I miss a lacrosse game.
Okay,
Whatever is easier for everybody else. I can do
Okay.
both.
all right, appreciate that.
9 a.m.
So, so that meeting, it's really going to be when they're going to gather the conceptual design, put over the survey, do all the measurements. I do believe they're in touch with, they have the information of Greg Roy to go over the skate park. So that's really where we're gonna get some big feedback from them, and depends on what they bring to us. It may be that we might need to have another meeting to discuss what they present to us. So that's, to keep in mind. I'm not sure. Hopefully, everything we request, it can be easily done. Their conceptual design seem to be solid enough that I don't think we're gonna be really off, but it'll be something that we need to, consider, so. All right. So next meeting is gonna be the 10th or the 17th, depending on, Walla, and that's all. And, yes, that's it. And can I have a motion?
Some of your
for-
t-shirt sizes. Women's, I can get women's
Oh.
shirts, I think.
Is it gonna be unisex size, Chris?
I think it looks like I can get a women's shirt too. I'm checking to see if shipping wise.
I mean, if you can, I'm a size medium, if you want it. Or if you want, I can text you so you can have it written down.
No, it looks like I can get those for Saturday delivery. Cool. Okay.
Okay.
Red. How do people feel about red?
Oh, I love red.
Cranberry red.
And it's Friday, Red Shirt
Oh,
Friday.
I'm,
Red shirt
I'm gonna
Friday.
come in a paper bag.
It's a fire thing.
Okay, got
It's
it.
a red
Cool.
shirt for veterans in service and stuff. The armed
nice.
forces. So everybody wears red shirts on Friday.
Ah, okay.
Nice. That's good to know.
All right,
All
Ken,
right.
send me a text.
Okay.
Thank you.
Already did, sir.
I get you.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn? And thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:08 PM.
Second.
All right, Chris?
Aye.
Dave?
Bye.
Pat?
Aye.
And Karen Ard.
Aye.
And I for myself. Good night, everybody.
See you next week.
Good night.
See ya.